Evening, everybody. Welcome back to Norwich Talk for another match reaction. My first reaction in quite some time. We're here today to have a little bit of a discussion about Norwich City's draw against Millwall that I've literally just watched. I'm quite sad that I've paid £10 for that. It's very upsetting. I'm not actually sure why we had to pay for that either. I was mildly confused, but nonetheless, I am slightly rattled that I've had to pay £10 for that. That was a performance that I didn't really enjoy to watch. Neither me or my dad did. And it wasn't helped by the interesting commentary from the Millwall end. It is an absolute travesty that Chris Gorham's commentary doesn't work on I Follow when we aren't playing at Carrow Road, because I really did miss him tonight. Yeah, it really wasn't a pleasant game to watch, to be honest with you. And the title of this video is there cause for concern? Is there at this point? I don't think so, to be honest with you. I don't think there are too many alarm bells ringing, but at the same time, Norwich City now haven't scored for 3 games. That is mildly concerning. We don't look that creative. Obviously, Mbondia didn't start this game, so we, really took a hit in terms of the creative aspect of the game. But I don't think there is that much of a cause for alarm bells to start ringing. But we'll discuss that a little bit later in the video. I want to start with the starting lineup. Now, Poeta was the only player to come in for Buendia, who obviously got suspended. I was going to make a video on that. I thought about it, but I just thought, no, I can't be bothered to do that, to be honest with you. There's no winning in that sort of argument, really, is there? I mean, opinions are too differing to really have a say. And for one, I'll put it out there, I, for one, was very frustrated at Buendia for that. But nonetheless, Poeta came in. That was the only real change. I was a lot less optimistic for this game than what I was for the Middlesbrough game when I saw the 11, mainly as a result of the Middlesbrough performance, of the Middlesbrough result as well. But I was feeling, theoretically, Norwich City could have won that game, should have won that game. Sadly, they didn't. But moving on to the match itself, I think the first half and the second half were fairly similar in terms of their characteristics. Norwich City really didn't get into the flow of it. And as I said earlier, we haven't really gotten into any sort of flow for the past 2 games, which is mildly concerning. It was really weird because Norwich don't look like a team that know how to play to their own strengths currently. We're definitely sticking to possession. Obviously, that's never going to change. However, beyond that, I don't really know what the plan is. Janulis and Max Aarons were very high up the pitch. We didn't really offer that much of a threat in the first half. Neither did we in the second half. But yeah, I'm struggling to sort of differentiate the two halves in my head, really. One thing that is a little bit frustrating is that Timu Puki didn't really look like he knew when to pull the trigger, which again sort of eliminates any threat we have in front of goal. Todd Cantwell was absolutely nullified again. I think that's what Championship teams will do when they come up against him now. Middlesbrough sort of showed Millwall this is how you stop him. Millwall did that very, very effectively, which was really, really frustrating. I'm very surprised that he lasted as long as he did in the game. But yeah, Norwich at the moment, which is my main concern, is we don't look like we know how to play to our own strengths. Naturally, in this Norwich City team, you've got Puka Hill, who will peel off someone, make a run, he'll be threaded through. We'll play quick, zippy passes with high fullbacks. That's sort of vintage Norwich City. At the moment, we don't really look that capable of playing that style of football, which leads me to wonder how on earth we're top of the league. But I don't want to get too sort of distracted because this is literally just after the match, so I haven't sort of had time to simmer down, as is often the case when I sort of do these reactions. But yeah, the first half was really, really frustrating, and I think Millwall probably were. I think it'd be fair to say Millwall were the better team throughout the majority of the game. Their game plan, I think they executed really, really well. They might have conceded a couple of chances to Norwich, but at the same time, I think when you play against Norwich in the Championship, you know that you're going to concede chances. And Millwall obviously did that. However, they created some. Norwich had a couple of let-offs, to be honest with you. There was a few. I think the most noticeable one is probably right at the end. I don't know how Jed Wallace hasn't won that game. Kieran Dowell, but just imagine that had gone in. I try not to, but you can't help but wonder what would sort of be the message after the game from fans if that had gone in, because there was a couple of times where the ball was given away towards the end. Down, as I said, Janulis had a bit of a stinker towards the end. But players like Jed Wallace sort of define why Millwall are a threat to Norwich City, where they're sort of these current Championship veterans. They know how to sort of get under your skin. They know how to score goals, and that is why throughout the game I was a little bit concerned. Luckily, we didn't lose that game. because I think the reaction would have been a lot more sour than perhaps it will be. Realistically, it's another point on the board. It's another clean sheet for Tim Krul. It's been quite some time since he actually last conceded a goal for Norwich. I know he's injured for a bit, but still, it's quite impressive from his perspective. Equally, though, we were let off massively tonight. Another point to make is Daniel Farke's substitutions weren't particularly brilliant. I saw someone on Twitter say that he's not a very good in-game manager. Now, I don't know if I agree with that, but tonight he wasn't. His first substitution was in the 75th minute, sorry. And after watching sort of that first half and the first 75 minutes of that game, I don't know how it's taken him that long to make the substitution. And I made this clear on a podcast with Alf and Hodgie that I don't really have that much faith in Kieran Dowell. And when I saw it was him who was coming on, I was a little bit frustrated because for me, that really wasn't his game, in that he's quite clearly a very sort of weak's a bit of a potent word, but he's quite a lightweight player, isn't he? And Millwall are a very, very physical team. You could see Todd Cantwell wasn't having much luck because the person marking him was being very, very physical. So I didn't really know how Kieran Dowell would impact the game. I mean, he nearly impacted the game right at the end in a very terrible way. But yeah, Daniel Farke's substitutions suggest he didn't read the game particularly brilliantly tonight. Adam Eder in the 89th minute is a bit of a weird one, to be honest with you. I know he's only just sort of coming back, but I personally, well, I'm not a football manager, but I personally would have given him a 10 or 15 minutes to try and impact the game, especially given that Timu Puki really didn't sort of look like he knew when to shoot, didn't really have that much of an effect. He does that weird sort of like diagonal chop of the ball when he shoots, doesn't he? And that was nullified really well by the Millwall defenders. I'm just looking at the stats here: 64% possession for Norwich. Again, sort of the story of the season where we dominate possession, but we don't sort of take the chances that we create. 17 shots, only 2 of them on target. I know one of them was Pochetta's from just outside the box. Speaking of Pochetta, I didn't think he was that bad tonight. It was good to see him sort of try and get more involved. He looked a lot more confident tonight, although that said, he didn't really impact the game. I'm sure he would have liked to have done. But equally, there were no real standout performers on there. In terms of the whole game, I don't really have many other thoughts on it, to be honest with you. I'd like to pin a question to you in the comments down below, which is obviously the title of the video. Is there any cause for concern at this point? Are you concerned that Norwich City won't be able to see out the rest of the season? I put a poll up on the Twitter earlier because I've been thinking about it for a few days, where I was wondering if Norwich City are better than Brentford, better than Swansea, teams who are going to be contending for that top 2 position. I'm really starting to wonder whether we are. But obviously we are technically at the moment, but if you don't want to be an idiot about it, then I think you can see that perhaps Swansea and Brentford look a little bit more sort of free flowing in their attacking moves, as opposed to Norwich not really looking that good. Although equally, we do create plenty of chances, we just don't take them. Fingers crossed we can start taking them. I'm very nervous for Swansea now. I was really hoping that we could sort of comfortably win 2-0 tonight. I was going to say 2 or 3-0, but we don't score 3 goals. That's not a thing we do this season. So I am incredibly nervous for Swansea. That's a huge game in the promotion race. If we lose it, it's not going to be devastating. It's not going to be the end of the promotion race for us, is it? Of course it's not. But at the same time, we've got to be winning that sort of game if we want to be winning the league again, of course. Although, to be honest with you, I'll take a second place finish. But yeah, that's my question. Do you think we're better than those teams? Is there any cause for concern? I think the next time we'll be seeing each other is probably a podcast. If not, it'll be a match preview ahead of Swansea. So until next time, we'll see you again very soon.